So here we are for the third review of the 11 Formula 1 teams that are competing in the 2014 season so far this year. We move the series on and we start to talk about Marussia, who have had one hell of a season so far, punching way above their weight. This year they decided to retain their driver lineup of Jules Bianchi, the Ferrari Academy driver, and Max Chilton, the Brit, both now in their second season of Formula 1. We start with Australia, which, as has been mentioned before, nobody really knew in terms of pace who would be in and about. Bianchi was unfortunately not classified at the end. He ended up finishing 8 laps down, along with Max Chilton, who was 2 laps down. But they both had the problems along the race, and the fact that Chilton was able to get to the end was just a reward for the team. As we move over into the Malaysian Grand Prix from Marussia, again, Jules Bianchi had an accident, and the damage from that caused him to retire later on in the race, which was a shame for him. But Chilton was able to, finish the race in 15th. Mind you, he did get beat by the Caterhams, but they were outclassed that weekend by the Caterhams. But even Marussia admitted that maybe that track wouldn't suit their car as much. For the third round at Bahrain, it was another tale this time, with the Marussias finishing ahead of Caterham, and Max Chilton was able to finish ahead of the Lotus of Maldonado, which was an impressive result in 13th. Mind you, that was because of a safety car and some problems for Maldonado, but still a very good result for them. Bianchi was also able to finish, but again he had some problems of his own. I think he had an accident as well at some point, which caused him to finish a lap down. But 13th and 16th was a sign of better things to come for the team. China was the same again, with Marussia being able to finish both cars, and that consistency, that reliability of Max Chilton again coming through there. Even though he finished 2 laps down, he still finished 19th, and he finished the race admittedly quite a distance behind Bianchi, but Bianchi knows the track a lot better than Chilton, and he finished 17th ahead of Kobayashi, who was hard charging towards the end and was catching at that rate. Spain, a simple race really, not many problems for Marussia over the race. Admittedly, before the race, Chilton had gone off into the wall at turn 4. I think that was during a practice session, third practice, but they didn't have any problems during the race, and they both finished not too far away from each other, admittedly 2 laps down again, but quite close in terms of pace, both of them showing that, because they both know the track, but both very equally matched. But then we come to the Monaco Grand Prix, and it was the first ever points finish for Marussia, with Jules Bianchi coming in 9th place, and what a drive that was. He showed a good determination. He was 8th, in fact, until he had a penalty for, I think it was not serving, I think there was a timed penalty for, I think it was messing up one of the pit stops that they had. 10-second time penalty delegated him down from 8th to 9th. But still a great result for Bianchi. He finished ahead of the McLaren of Magnussen, even the Ferrari of Kimi Räikkönen, which was an impressive drive. Chilton didn't have as great a luck of time, but he still managed to finish the race in 14th, admittedly 3 laps down, but that was really the breakthrough for Marussia, and now they've seemed to have built on from that. It didn't happen straight away though in Canada, because Chilton and Bianchi, the golden law of Formula 1 is don't take out your teammate, and Chilton lost the back end at the chicane on the first lap and took Bianchi out, and it was sadly after such a great performance the week before at Monaco, and for the fact that Chilton, who had a 25 running race of not actually retiring, which is the longest a rookie has ever done before, that ended on that day, and Bianchi was admittedly frustrated with what he perceived to be Chilton's fault. Going into the Austrian Grand Prix, Marussia knew that with the Ferrari engine they wouldn't really have the pace to keep up with the Mercedes powered cars, or maybe in fact the Saubers, but they proved themselves to be quite handy around that track. It seems that Marussia's got a bit more downforce than it has in the previous years of their car, and even though they finished 15th and 17th, they weren't too far away from the Lotus and the Saubers. They were only about half a second a lap slower, half a second to 3¼ of a second, which is admittedly on a very quick track a very good performance from Marussia. And they were able to continue that form going on to the British Grand Prix with that mixed qualifying wet weather session. Bianchi was able to get himself into Q2 and was running in 11th for the first part of the race, doing a brilliant job able to keep all the much more faster cars of the Saubers, the Force Indies, a Toro Rosso as well in there, and the Lotus behind him. In the end, though, the pit stops got there. He finished 14th and Chilton was 16th, but again, another really good, strong performance from Russia, showing that they've moved away from Caterham and are now challenging the Saubers, which not only shows the progress that Russia have made, but the good job that Bianchi in particular is doing. Chilton's doing a really good job in keeping the car on the track and not retiring. He hasn't had any problems. Going into the German Grand Prix, bit of a stagnant weekend for Marussia. Even though they were a lot closer to Sauber, they didn't make as many improvements as they thought they would. They got closer, but not as far as they hoped. They're still able to finish 15th and 17th. Bianchi again ahead of Chilton, but they felt as if they could have done a lot better had they been able to get the most out of the car. And they had that chance going into Hungary. They had a much better package than they had in Germany. A weaker part that seemed to suit their car a little bit more, the MR03. And they did quite well. They managed to stay out of trouble in the wet dry race. They only finished a lap down, with Bianchi again heading Chilton. They were the last two runners in 15th and 16th, but again that ability to keep themselves out of trouble and to be able to finish the race is what is getting Marussia a lot closer to the mid-pack. They've only had a couple of DNFs this year, I think 3, maybe 4 I'm right in saying, if you combine both drivers. And that's a really, really good performance from Russia this year. I'm expecting them to make more gains this year, maybe even battling with the Saubers mid-race and during the race all the way to the end now, rather than with them at the start and then falling away slightly towards the end. And I think that they've got two really capable drivers in the form of Bianchi, who seems to be very, very quick, and Chilton, who seems to maybe not have as much pace as Bianchi, but definitely has the ability to keep the car on track and to keep himself out of trouble, which is well played. But let's see how they can get on through the rest of the season for Marussia.